What happens to a person who spends their entire life feeling unwanted? What happens when rejection becomes so normal that acceptance feels impossible? What happens when loneliness becomes so familiar that hope itself begins to feel dangerous? These questions lie at the heart of Nico Robin's story. While many people remember Robin as the intelligent archaeologist of the Straw Hat Pirates, her journey is far more than an adventure story. Psychologically, she represents one of the most profound struggles human beings can experience. The battle to believe you deserve to exist, to belong, and to be loved after a lifetime of rejection. Robin's story is not just about survival, it is about learning to live, and there is a difference. Many people survive, far fewer truly live. Survival is about enduring another day. Living is about believing that day matters. For much of her life, Robin survived, but she did not truly live. From a very young age, Robin experienced something psychologists consider one of the deepest emotional wounds a human being can suffer: chronic rejection. Human beings are social creatures. Our brains evolved in communities. Connection was essential for survival. Belonging meant safety. Acceptance meant protection. Rejection meant danger. Because of this, our minds are extraordinarily sensitive to exclusion. Modern neuroscience has shown that social rejection activates many of the same brain regions associated with physical pain. In other words, rejection literally hurts. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, biologically. Robin experienced this repeatedly throughout her life. She was misunderstood, feared, abandoned, pursued, viewed as dangerous rather than valuable. Over time, these experiences shaped her identity. This is an important psychological lesson. People do not simply experience rejection, they often internalize it. Instead of thinking, "I was rejected," they begin thinking, "I am rejectable." This subtle shift changes everything. One describes an event, the other describes an identity. And identities influence behavior. When people believe they are fundamentally unworthy, they begin making decisions based on that belief. They lower their expectations. They sabotage relationships. They avoid vulnerability. They stop trusting others. Most importantly, they stop trusting themselves. Robin slowly developed this mindset, not because she was weak, because she was human. The human mind constantly searches for explanations. When painful events happen repeatedly, we naturally try to make sense of them. Children are especially vulnerable to this process. A child rarely concludes that the world is unfair. Instead, the child often concludes that something is wrong with them. This creates what psychologists call core beliefs. Core beliefs are deep assumptions about ourselves that operate beneath conscious awareness. They influence how we interpret reality. Some people develop empowering core beliefs. Others develop limiting ones. Robin's experiences encouraged a painful belief that her existence brought suffering to others. Think about how devastating that belief is. Imagine walking through life convinced that everyone would be better off without you. Imagine believing that your presence creates problems rather than value. Imagine carrying that emotional burden for years. This is why Robin's psychology is so compelling. Her greatest battle was never against enemies. It was against her own sense of worth. Many people fight similar battles every day, not with pirates or world governments, but with self-doubt, with loneliness, with feelings of inadequacy, with the quiet belief that they are somehow less deserving than everyone else. One of the most dangerous effects of rejection is emotional self-protection. When people are hurt repeatedly, they often stop expecting good things. This sounds pessimistic, but psychologically it feels practical. If you don't expect acceptance, rejection hurts less. If you don't trust people, betrayal hurts less. If you don't hope, disappointment hurts less. At least that's what the mind believes. The problem is that emotional walls don't only block pain, they also block connection. Robin became incredibly skilled at surviving. She learned to adapt. She learned to stay guarded. She learned to remain emotionally distant. These strategies protected her, but they also isolated her. This reveals an important truth. The behaviors that help us survive difficult seasons can become obstacles later in life. Many people continue using coping mechanisms long after the danger has passed. Someone who learned not to trust may struggle with relationships. Someone who learned emotional detachment may struggle with intimacy. Someone who learns self-reliance may struggle to ask for help. The very strategies that once protected them begin limiting them. Robin experienced this firsthand. She became so accustomed to rejection that acceptance felt suspicious. This is something many people don't realize. Healing is not always comfortable. Sometimes pain feels familiar. Sometimes loneliness feels predictable. Sometimes suffering feels safer than hope. Because hope requires vulnerability. Hope requires risk. Hope requires believing that things can be different. And after enough disappointment, that becomes difficult. This is why Robin's journey is ultimately about trust. Not merely trusting other people, trusting that she deserved connection, trusting that she deserved friendship, trusting that she deserved a future. This distinction matters. Many people assume confidence comes first. In reality, confidence often grows after connection. When healthy people consistently show us acceptance, our self-perception begins to change. We start seeing ourselves through different eyes. We begin questioning the negative stories we've carried for years. Robin's transformation begins when she encounters people who refuse to define her by her past. This is one of the most powerful forces in psychology. Belonging. Belonging is more than being around people. Belonging is being accepted without needing to pretend. It is being seen without being judged. Every human being longs for this experience, because belonging answers one of the deepest psychological questions we carry. Am I enough? For years, Robin believed the answer was no. Then slowly, through genuine connection, she began discovering a different possibility. Maybe she wasn't broken. Maybe she wasn't cursed. Maybe she wasn't unwanted. Maybe she was simply surrounded by people who failed to recognize her value. This realization changes lives. Many individuals spend years trying to become worthy, trying to become acceptable, trying to become enough. But worthiness is not something you earn. It is something you recognize. Your value does not increase when people approve of you, and it does not decrease when they reject you. Robin's story teaches this lesson beautifully. Rejection may affect how people see you. It does not determine who you are. The opinions of others are not the measure of your worth. This becomes especially important in today's world. Social media encourages comparison. Approval becomes measurable. Validation becomes addictive. Many people begin basing their self-worth on external reactions. Likes, views, comments, attention. But external validation is unstable. It changes constantly. If your self-worth depends on external approval, your emotional state becomes dependent on factors you cannot control. Robin's journey points towards something deeper. Internal worth. A sense of value that exists regardless of circumstances. A sense of dignity that survives rejection. A sense of identity that remains intact even when others fail to understand you. This doesn't happen overnight. Healing rarely does. Healing is not a single breakthrough. It is a gradual process. A process of challenging old beliefs. A process of replacing fear with trust. Perhaps the most powerful moment in Robin's story comes when she finally expresses a desire she had buried for years. A desire she had convinced herself she no longer possessed. The desire to live. Psychologically, this moment is profound. Because before people can build meaningful lives, they must first believe their lives are worth building. Before they can pursue dreams, they must believe they deserve a future. Before they can embrace happiness, they must believe happiness is possible. Robin's declaration is not merely about survival. It is about reclaiming hope. And hope is one of the most transformative forces in human psychology. Hope changes behavior. Hope changes decisions. Hope changes possibilities. When people believe a better future exists, they begin acting differently in the present. That is why hopelessness is so dangerous. Hopeless people stop trying. Hopeful people persist. Robin teaches us that hope can return even after years of rejection, even after years of loneliness, even after years of believing you don't belong. This is why her story resonates with so many people. Because countless individuals know what it feels like to be misunderstood, to feel different, to feel excluded, to feel unseen. Robin reminds us that these experiences do not define us. They are chapters, not conclusions. The rejection you experienced is not your identity. The loneliness you experienced is not your identity. The mistakes you made are not your identity. Your past may explain your wounds, but it does not determine your future. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson Nico Robin leaves us with. The desire to live is really the desire to believe that your life matters, that your presence matters, that your story matters. And no matter how much rejection you have faced, no matter how many times you have been misunderstood, and no matter how long you have carried the weight of loneliness, your value has never disappeared. It was always there, waiting for you to see it. Because the most important person who must believe your life is worth living is you.